now tuned into Check This Out News. We connect the streets.
What's going on, everybody? This EJ the DJ. This Check This Out. Got a special friend on the line, J-Dub. What's going on, boss?
Oh, it's all good, E. It's, bringing the coast together from the east to the west.
As we should, as always. Just want to get your intake on the recent murder of Pop Smoke. Got murdered in L.A. I want to get your intake on it. You know, I'm calling from New York. You on the West Coast. So just want to get your intake on it.
Well, the facts are still coming in, but it's just a disturbing trend, these days, that with so many people, flossing on Instagram and all that, trying to show the cash, show the jewelry, show the cars. It's just, it's a dangerous thing. There's a lot of hungry people out there that would love to take whatever you're showing off. They may not be in the position you are, or they may be jealous. So, not that that's exactly the case in this, because, again, the facts are still coming in. They're not really sure that it was a robbery, but obviously earlier in the day, they were showing pictures of big stacks of cash and always showing off jewelry and everything. So I'm just concerned that it's a growing trend. We've kind of gone from having lyrical substance or, something to say to just showing off, supposed wealth. In a lot of cases, these kids are showing off stuff, trying to compete with that maybe not theirs, or they're willing to, knock somebody off just to show something, in their own IG posts. And it's just a disturbing trend. Life is a valuable thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. So do you want, could we say it's safe to say that, social media was the cause, or allegedly it was social media, allegedly it could have been a gang hit? There's so much stories coming out. Do you feel like dropping your location or your geolocation on social media is very dangerous nowadays?
Oh, absolutely. It's tougher than ever to be a quote celebrity, because again, there's a lot of people, especially in the robbing and stealing business, that are just looking for, a celebrity who's out of town, or somebody who might have their guard down after a party or event, or showing where they're going to be, which means they're either not home, which might be a quick robbery, or where they're going to be, and you can almost never have enough security these days. So it's like I say, so many people want to be rich or famous, but they don't really know what comes with that. But yeah, giving out your home location, that's probably the worst thing possible.
Yeah, and I think especially with social media, I think the geolocation is the exact precise location, because I was able to look up the geolocation and seeing the street it was on, Hercules Street. It was like, wow, like that's kind of dangerous and unsafe. And I don't think people realize, with these new technologies, the iPhones, the Androids, you could turn off your location. I don't know if that would help or not, but I do know that with your location being on, people could find you easier with your location on your phone being on.
Yeah, the entertainment business has always been kind of a, escapism, kind of a life of fantasy. And what you do on record, or what you do on the movie or video screen, or what you do on stage is kind of a little bit of a, fantasy life. It's an escapism from reality. But then you got to go back to the real world and, move around and go to sleep and, recharge the batteries and do what you do to live that life. And that's, like I say, when your location or your privacy is of the utmost concern.
But do you think that if an artist don't floss and show a little something and give that luxury lifestyle, do you think they will be perceptive or receptive going forward? You think people will really like them or keep following them? You think people want to see that?
Well, see, that's the problem. It's the gift and the curse.
Okay.
It's like you want to show a little escapism and fantasy. You want to see something that you don't necessarily have in real life. But there's a problem in that. If that's all we're chasing as, fans, consumers, chasing the floss, then, we're part of the problem.
Okay.
So it's a vicious cycle. It's like, if you tell everybody to tone that down, somebody else is going to come through and stand out, because they're doing it more. They're doubling down on it. So it's a vicious cycle. I don't know where it ends, but I do believe that even entertainers need to have a private life.
Okay.
And you need to kind of move in silence and appear in public where your shows are, not necessarily letting everybody know where you're at in the studio and where you're living and where you're hanging out. So that's part of the problem. But yeah, growing up through the eras of people that really had something to say in substance, it is disturbing that the focus is on, the floss more than, the substance.
Okay.
I don't know what it's going to take, for it to turn around. Younger people obviously, are attracted to something that glitters, but that is a dangerous trend.
Do you feel like this is something that only happens in hip hop, or do you feel other genres of music it happens as well?
Well, to be honest with you, it really is. It's a hip hop thing, It started with the rappers boasting about I'm the baddest, I'm the biggest, I'm the, I'm that, and it is predominantly in hip hop. You just, not to generalize, but you just don't see it, in other genres as much. I mean, obviously hip hop is closely associated with pop and a lot of the high levels of hip hop artists, but still, it's that hip hop mentality of I'm young, I got some money, I'm gonna spend it all on jewelry and cars, as opposed to not knowing that might be the biggest money you see in your career, and might be going downhill from there. And you're scrambling to maintain that quote lifestyle, but it's really fake because you're spending everything you make on some gaudy jewelry that's either going to get jacked or depreciate.
Got you.
So, a few years later, your career is done, and all you got to show for it is a few robberies and a bunch of baby mama drama or lawsuits. It's a shame to see that in young entrepreneurs.
I know I could understand where you're going with it, but could we say it's safe to say that it does happen in the rock and roll industry as well, or the rock band, because it maybe?
There's exceptions to the rule. It's just with like I say, a lot of the young rock bands or artists, you don't really see the the pushing of the jewelry and cash. I think everybody loves a fast car. If you're able to, growing up, you fantasize.
So a fast car is safe to say, no matter what field you in, a fast luxury car is safe to say to have, but more in hip hop, you see more jewelry, but in the rock space, I would say you see more drugs. Is that safe to say?
There used to be. It's pretty amazing these days that really, the trend is, that the party's on stage, the party's not backstage. So the amount of hard drugs were back in the 60s and 70s, and these days, I talked to a lot of the rock bands, and they're totally sober. They've stopped drinking. Keith Richards, the Rolling Stones, one of the biggest, most infamous drug takers of all time, just announced he quit cigarettes. He's probably 80 years old, but I think there's a trend among a lot of the more musician-oriented performers to be more balanced, to eat better, to be more healthy, to the drugs and the hangovers aren't really a part of a good show or a successful tour.
Got you.
So it's pretty amazing, which I think is positive, because we as consumers, we pay more and more and more every year to go to these concerts.
Yes, we do.
And We don't want to see somebody who's hungover and can barely, stand on stage.
Agreed.
And I believe, I always tell performers that you need to be more like an athlete. If you're going to try and win the Super Bowl, you better be, in top shape.
Yeah, have your A1 game. Definitely got to have your A1 game. So I definitely understand that. When you had a chance to talk to him, what was his turning point? What made him turn around? What made him stop doing drugs? What was that point?
Well, he just announced he stopped smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
I think after a while, it's just the toll it takes on your body. When you're waking up and it's just harder and harder to, move or remember things and all that. I think a lot of people, whether it be family, they got kids or whatever, they see life through their children or family, and they realize, like, man, reality is not that bad. They used to do drugs back in the day. A lot of them started because, they got fame, and there's nothing like the adrenaline rush of like an arena or a stadium, screaming and loving your name or singing your lyrics, back to you. And they come off stage and they're in a quiet room and a quiet car and a quiet hotel. And a lot of times the drugs kind of numb them to that feeling like, man, I want that adrenaline rush all the time. So, to go from a screaming crowd to silence for the next 23 hours waiting for the next crowd, or days or months, it kind of numbed them from reality. But I think more and more artists are realizing that, reality is great. I hear a lot of artists say, man, I can't believe all the shit I missed. It's really, it's great stuff, family and, the life out there, especially as an entrepreneur or a creator.
Okay. So as you been in the game for 30 years, what have you seen from the beginning to now that has changed so much? Because I know it had to be a change from before to now. I know in the rock era, we was talking about the rock band, but now in the hip hop, what has changed so much that you think that makes people want to floss so much? Because in the beginning, it wasn't that much flossing, it wasn't that much jewelry, but now it's like an academic of it. Like you see it everywhere. You got to have a fast car. You got to have the jewelry. The girls love you. If you don't have it, the girls don't like you as much. Or the conscious rappers that don't wear jewelry, that's talking positive, do they get the same attention as the guys that do wear it?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest change is obviously technology. With the advent of the internet, I saw the big shift even when like MySpace came in.
Yes.
Your average Joe who was just a fan and would go out and, get in line and buy their favorite artist's new record, at Tower or Virgin or wherever, when it came out. We're creating their little, image, their little MySpace account. And they had the opportunity, rather than say, well, I'm Mike Smith, well, I'm MC, Mickey Ficky, I'm going to show a picture with me and a shiny watch. And it was that trend where social media, you could kind of hide behind your posts or your supposed image, or now with digital recording, anybody can make music. Anybody can shoot a video on their phone and post it to YouTube like 2 minutes later. Anybody can put their stuff up on Spotify. So it really lowered the bar.
Okay.
Back in the 70s and 80s and all that, I mean, you had to have a record deal because you needed a budget to go into a real studio. I mean, to make an album might cost $50,000, and to shoot a big video might cost $100,000 or more. And go on tour, you needed the machine to get your music in stores and on the radio and in front of the media, get you in all the magazines. And now the bar is just so low, your average fan is more like a, quote, artist these days. So, went from having a couple hundred artists and millions of fans to now having millions of artists and almost no fans.
Wow.
They've gone to the point where, well, I'm not going to buy music, and I'm not going to go to a show if I'm not on the guest list or get in free, or, they expect everything for free. And, everybody's an artist, so everybody's a critic. And online, you can kind of hide behind your fake, post or image or name, and now just berate everybody else. So the level of hate is way, way up. The bar as far as the entry level to be, quote, a legitimate artist or even an artist is like zero.
Okay.
I mean, somebody with absolutely zero talent can go in and play with the auto-tune and, do a crazy video. And now they think they're an artist who's competing, with the big boys in their mind. And how they're going to elevate is, well, let me go get a bunch of jewelry and, borrowed cars and fake stuff at any cost to try and elevate my status online. And that's the biggest difference.
Got you. So you live in LA right now. How is it out there as far as the music scene in Los Angeles, California?
Well, I don't look so much at scenes as localized. Obviously, there's a lot going on, and in a city like Los Angeles, there's like 100 concerts on any given night going on, and there's stadiums and clubs and theaters and arenas and everything that are packed most nights of the week. So, the music goers, the appreciation for music has never been higher. But I don't necessarily look too much for the local scenes anymore because the internet really levels the playing field.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't matter if you're from Peoria or the Bronx or Hollywood. Online, everybody somewhat has an equal chance. And most of the people in LA aren't from LA.
Okay.
Just like pop, the people come into LA all the time. So it's hard to really talk about a local scene anymore. But the appreciation for music, the shows and all that are more than ever. There's more festivals than ever.
Okay.
There's new ones cropping up every week. And so I like the appreciation of music. I just wish the younger generation really appreciate where that music came from. I think hip-hop's one of the only genres that doesn't appreciate their elders. Because in rock, they love the classic rockers like the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or Nirvana or, whoever. Same in pop music and jazz and country. They love the country, legends. But the younger hip-hop wants to separate themselves so much from the elders that they have, more disrespect. And we've heard it so much times, and a lot of that's clickbait too, to try and stand out. If I say F Pac or F Biggie or F Run DMC or whatever, I know I'm going to get some attention. So there's a level of disrespect that really shouldn't be there. Like I say, if it wasn't for the four founders of hip hop, this industry that they're trying to get into or make a living in certainly wouldn't exist.
No, I definitely understand that, but I don't think that is glorified as much as we see it. I do think they do get their cake while they here. I do believe that because a lot of artists that I have spoke to personally, a lot of artists I see online look up to the old school rappers. It just depends on how far old school you go, because there's a lot of new rappers that's really, really young and it's way before their time. Like a Biggie or Tupac is way before a lot of these new rappers' time. So they might look up to an artist that's 50 Cent. He's fairly new because as an older rap listener or hip hop head, you would know like, all right, 50 Cent is still new. But then again, on the opposite hand, he's not that old as Run DMC. Now Run DMC is back in the 80s. So if you got a 80s artist compared to an artist who was born like Pop Smoke, he was born in 1999. So like Run DMC is like really old school, and a lot of these artists is young. They was born in 95 and up. So a 95 and up baby wouldn't really listen to a Run DMC, which they should because Success Leave Clues. But then it's kind of hard because that's kind of it's not outdated, but the younger parents is not listening to Run DMC. That's more of really an old school laid back. So if a younger person, I would say like maybe their grandparents would listen to like a Run DMC, but their parents are listening to like we want to say like the Jay-Z's of the world, 50 Cents of the world, stuff, people like that, like the Locks, DMX, Jadakiss, Lauryn Hill, Nas, artists like that. I would say that they're listening to, because when you at a certain age bracket, is so far you reach back unless you have history within your household.
Well, yeah, no. As far as listening, I agree. But what I think is important is that all young artists study the past. In other words, have some roots. You know, if your influences are only contemporary artists, you have no roots. And you know, to grow a big oak tree, you better have some really strong roots. You know, and that's what I worry about. Are any of the artists around today going to be listened to 20 or 30 years from now?
That's a good question.
Like we listen to Pac and Biggie still.
That's a good question.
So I think, you know, number one, learning roots, respect your elders, you know, study the past so you can move forward. And plus, it's more influences to draw from. I think if you went to, like I say, a Rolling Stone show, you'll see 12-year-old kids right alongside 80-year-olds and 50-year-olds and all that. There's like 4 generations of people. So obviously these 12-year-olds weren't around when the Rolling Stones first came out in the 60s. But they either appreciate the music or they heard it from their parents or grandparents or someone who said, you know, I don't know when that music was made, but that's dope. I vibe on that. that gives me a lot of energy. And then they go to the show and they see something they've never seen before. So I think it's good that artists have roots. They have an appreciation from their past because if you don't know where you came from, you really don't know where you're going. So
I agree with that.
I worry that a lot of music today is pretty disposable. And I know going into it, you can't think, well, I'm going to make music that's going to be listened to 50 years from now. But, you know, I do think that there should be a little more root. There should be a little more substance to what you do. So you are kind of innovative, you know. Maybe you stand out. And I just think we're in a real fast food, you know, microwave society. You can make music today and put it out tonight. What will it be around next year, you know? And, you know, time will tell.
No, I definitely understand that. How do you feel about females in the business? Because, you know, a lot of females are always getting into it. It's never females that it could come into the industry and work together. Why is that?
Well, I think naturally a lot of females, you know, compete with one another. They have that, you know, catty attitude, whether it be themselves or the people around them, to kind of instantly compare or put down those around them. And I think, you know, Nicki Minaj had her own little lane for, you know, a couple of years there where any female coming in, she kind of, you know, barked and bullied them. And really until Cardi and a few of these people, now you got Megan Thee Stallion and all these people breaking through, I think, you know, it's super catty, super competitive. But again, most of that music is very sexualized. You know, you're looking at the body, you're looking at this and that. And I think with, you know, males, it's a little different. So, okay. You know, it's always been super, super tough for a female, especially in hip hop, to break through. But I think now, more so than the last few years, there's more females hitting, and you even got Lizzo, you know, out there with a big body type. So, you know, I think it bodes well, hopefully, for the future of females.
Do you think females could survive in a non-sexual world?
I mean, that's yet to be seen. I mean, we had Lauryn Hill come up,
I'm about to say
in the
that.
90s doing her thing, and
Queen Latifah. I said Queen Latifah.
Yeah. You had them where they were more focused on their mind, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking, and I don't know that will really break through as much. You know, right now we're in like I say, a world where the flash, you know, gets the attention quicker than a brain or a substance, you know, or a message. So let's hope it's balanced. You know, that's what I would love to see. You know, and less focus on the materialistic things. So, like I say, these senseless murders and robberies aren't such an everyday occurrence.
No, I definitely agree with you with that, 100%. Is there any way that we could help the community, or any advice you would give to like the people? Should they amplify their security? Would that be more safer? But besides not posting their geo tagging on their social media, what's some other tactics that they could do to keep themselves safe?
Yeah, I think that's definitely important. You know, I know they want to look flashy on stage, but you're leaning into the audience with a bunch of, you know, hungry animals out there want to, you know, grab your chain, and then all of a sudden somebody pulls you into the crowd, and a lot of problems can ensue, you know, over, you know, a piece of jewelry. I know everybody wants to be so hard and be so true, but you know, I think there should be, you know, almost costume jewelry, you know, worn on stage. You know, I mean, people from the crowd wouldn't know cubic zirconia from real diamonds anyway. But you know, I think it's dangerous once you're flaunting a bunch of jewelry, you know, when you're right in front of the crowd. And if you're in an arena, there's a pit.
It's funny.
You're separate from the audience.
No, I definitely get that. It's funny you said that, but a lot of rappers do wear custom jewelry. It don't be real. It just look real.
Yeah.
I
think that's smart.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just made your first $200,000, why would you invest that, so to speak, in a chain? That's a horrible investment.
Definitely. Well, so what would be some good investments to do if you first get your first $200,000?
Well, obviously owning your own company. You know, we just saw Yo Gotti just buy his masters back from Sony and went independent where he started. You see more and more artists saying, I'm going to own my own masters. I'm going to build my own studio. I'm hearing these interviews with Birdman touting like, yeah, you know, Drake's got an unlimited budget. Well, we all know in a record deal, that's not a good thing, because you're recouping your expenses at your royalty rate, which is usually 10 cents on the dollar. So for every million you spend frivolously, you owe them 10 million back. I mean, banks wouldn't even stay in business if they were offering 10,000% loans, you know? So I just think owning your own destiny, you know, investing in yourself, you know, buying a store and starting buying some property, buying a strip mall, you know. Now all of a sudden you got 8-10 rents coming in on the first of the month, you know, every month. I just think there's better ways to invest it. So, you know, a career these days is very fleeting. I mean, especially in hip hop, a lot of them are here today, gone tonight. So, you know, if you don't have something to show for what you've earned, I mean, there's more opportunities to earn money as a headliner in the concert business than ever before.
Yes, it is.
I think a lot of these smart artists, number one, are controlling their own destiny. You know, rather than getting, you know, advances with horrible repayment rates, you know, they got their own studios. They don't need a budget to make an album. They can turn in a finished album and maybe license it to these companies. So they own it. You know, 5-10 years from now, it reverts back to them. They got property. They got an asset. They have, you know, getting their music into film and TV and getting all these royalties, you know, coming in. You know, people like Nipsey Hussle, I think, really saw that. He saw the bigger picture and, you know, what he could do by, you know, staying independent or licensing his music to Atlantic, or, you know, building his own studio, and, you know, when he's not using it, renting it out, having it pay for itself. So just saying, being in control of your own destiny. You know, whatever you do, you should control the pipeline as much as possible. Own as much of that, so you can really, like I say, invest in yourself. And then, like I say, there's going to be other artists or other clients that might want to use your facilities. And now, if you can find ways to make them pay for themselves, it doesn't cost you anything to have your own studio. It doesn't cost you anything to have your own, you know, apartment, because you own the apartment building.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Those are some ways you can invest in yourself and learn to be better. And we need that as a people. So I'm happy we sat down with you today. We learned from you. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Well, always a pleasure. You know, Indie Power is our main promotion and marketing company. That's INDIEPOWER, indiepower.com. You know, we've been doing this for over 40 years. And, you know, we basically help people become their own labels, become their own, you know, companies and artists. Because even these major companies these days, they want to see indie success even before they really look at you. So one way or the other, you're going to have to be independently successful in a big way, in a real way anyway.
Okay.
IndiePower.com is the easiest way. Reach out. We'd love to consult and help you. And, we do the Indie Summit, the IES Fest, IESFESC.com. We do that every August out here in LA, and it's a global music conference. Hope to see you out here. Mike Johns is part of it, and it's super exciting every year.
Definitely. We definitely appreciate you. Anything I could help you with, I'm EJ the DJ, J-Dub. I got you, no problem.
Man, until next time, EJ.
All right, thank
you so much.
Thank you, Jay.
Appreciate it.
Check this out, America.
We connect the streets.